When I was a kid, I used to go to the movies every weekend. We'd go Saturday and Sunday. It cost like 50 cents or 75 cents. And not only was there a double feature, two different movies, but there would be anywhere between like 5 and 25 cartoons. So it was a whole day. You'd spend the whole day in the theater. Kids going berserk, jumping out of the balcony, ushers trying to separate you, so because you're making too much noise, and then you'd have to sneak back to your friends and stuff. It was a whole huge cultural experience. So I loved the movies. I loved going to the movies, but I had no consciousness that movies were written or directed. We only knew the stars on the screen, and I see it with kids today. They think that the actors, make up the words they say. They barely know the difference between the reality and the screen reality. So as I went through my teens, I got more. I started seeing European films and uh, interesting earlier American films that weren't necessarily so popular, but had an impact on the future of film. And then that all sort of crystallized in the early '60s when Lawrence of Arabia came out. It was a very impressive movie to us for some reason, my friends and I. Not only was it a great adventure, but we also sensed that there was really great filmmaking involved. Suddenly we were conscious that people made films. David Lean suddenly was a name we could identify. And, if we started looking at movies from that point of view now, yeah, who made this film? Suddenly that became a good question, and an important question. I took a lot of theater and speech courses and writing courses in college. We didn't have a film school. But I could just see myself headed that way. I just knew that I wanted to make films someday. And with this new consciousness about filmmakers, I just started looking more carefully at films to see how they were made, how shots went together, how shots were framed, how stories were told, and I just, a lot of this you just pick up, there's a certain amount can't be taught, and you just have to, gather it by observation and by experience.